Year's. How are your resolutions doing? I'm always fascinated by resolutions. I found this article online from 1922, between Christmas and New Year's Eve in 1922. That's 100 years ago. And a reporter was asking people on the street in New York City about what they thought about resolutions. One man, Wallace Perry, said, "It is a custom which does much good. Resolutions are generally bubbles which blow up before the year has progressed far, but we get good training in self-restraint trying to keep them." Miss Augusta Downing said, "The custom is a very good one, and everyone should make New Year's resolutions. Very few people keep them, but it is well to make them because it helps to try to do things better." I love how all of them realize we don't keep them. And this one, I thought she was pretty insightful. Miss Jane Hudson. She says, "The custom works in contrary fashion. If a person is in need of making these resolutions, he does not keep them. Those who need New Year's resolutions the least are the ones apt to keep them." And then this William DeForge, he's a musician from West 10th Street. He says, "New Year's resolutions were made to be broken. It does no harm to make or to break them. We all should make them because a new year would not come in right unless we had many resolutions to greet it with." Sort of like the cynical musician, I guess. And this last one I thought was funny. Miss Florence Sweet said, "I think it is a splendid custom, even if people do generally break them. They help us to think better things anyways. Since Volstead began looking after our welfare, it isn't necessary to make one resolution." Volstead was the act of prohibition. So she's saying, since prohibition, we don't need to make any resolutions because we can't drink anymore. Maybe you feel guilty when you break your New Year's resolutions, just as our forebears knew we would 100 years ago. The inner voice of guilt, attack, or failure rises up. There's a song a few years ago by the rocker Jenny Lewis. The song was called "Just One of the Guys." She was trying to be just one of the guys among the other rock stars, but she struggled with that. And she sang, "No matter how hard I try to be just one of the guys, there's a little something inside me that won't let me. There's a little something inside me that prevents me." She sings, "No matter how hard I try, there's a little cop inside that prevents me." She's speaking of that inner voice we all have in our heads that tells you no, that you don't fit in, that you shouldn't even try, that you're no good anyway. The attack of the inner cop. There's that TV show, The Voice, where the judges are trying to find new talent, and at the beginning, their chairs are turned away from the singers so that they don't see who it is. They're not distracted by the person's look, what they're wearing, their age. They just hear the voice. Just focusing on one voice and nothing else is hard. But if it's the inner voice of your head, your inner monologue, then you don't need any help hearing it. That voice of the inner cop, the voice of inner condemnation, is very loud and clear. You know, the one that says, "You didn't do enough today. You're lazy. You didn't help enough." The one that says, despite any evidence to the contrary, that you're an imposter. Despite maybe receiving praise from your family, your friends, or even getting that promotion, getting good grades, the inner voice can still tear you down, critique everything you've done. At the baptism of Jesus in the River Jordan, Jesus hears a voice. And we are reminded, reflecting on that reading, the power of a voice outside of ourselves. The power of a voice outside of ourselves to declare the truth about us. But the inner voice is still there. Maybe you had an awkward social interaction with somebody. Your inner voice rages with punishment and self-flagellation. "You idiot! You're so embarrassing." Relaying countless critiques when the other person didn't even think twice about the interaction. Or maybe you can never relax or rest. You never feel like you've done enough to deserve to rest because your inner voice says there's more you need to do. you're not pulling your weight in this relationship? What if people see you resting at work? What if they see you not going the extra mile? What if these grades are not good enough for the admissions office? What if others realize that I'm a fraud? Or the voice that says, you're not good looking, you're unattractive, you're not worthy of positive attention, beauty, or love. The voice inside says that you don't deserve love or affection. And of course, that's why it's so important to tell others out loud that they are good, that they are enough, that they are worthy of love, that you are not deserving of the shame and relentless critiques that you offer yourself. To be told by your parents that you are good, loved, pleasing, that you ontologically are good. In other words, in your essence, you are good. Not just the things you do, but you. Not your performance, but your being. To be told out loud by friends that they're proud of you, that you have worked hard. Or maybe when you hear this, you think of some of those egotistical people, very self-aggrandizing, and you say, well, at least they don't seem to worry about what other people think. They don't seem to worry about their inner voice. You know, those self-justifying people who are constantly promoting themselves. They don't seem to have that inner voice, do they? Why can't I just ignore it like them? Why can't I just mute or block the inner voice and move on? Well, those people have the inner voice too. They just deal with it differently. They feel unworthy. They hear the voice saying they are nothing, that they've not done enough. So they're relentless in counteracting it. They feel they're nothing without doing more, without being more, that their worth is based on doing enough. Their worth is based on being enough, getting enough praise, getting enough notoriety. So they counteract the voice of you are unworthy by engaging in more self-promotion, by surrounding themselves with more enough and important people so that they can feel enough, to feel important enough, to counteract the inner voice of accusation. But the truth is, whatever side of the coin you're on, you can never do enough, be enough, perform enough to counteract that voice. You can't outwork or outperform the inner voice. You take a rest, the voice doesn't. Then Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan, to John, to be baptized by him. John would have prevented him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and you come to me? But Jesus answered him, let it be so now, for thus it is fitting for us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he consented. And when Jesus was baptized, immediately he went up from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him. And he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, coming to rest on him. And behold, a voice from heaven said, this is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. A voice from heaven. God the Father tells his Son that he is beloved. He tells him that he is loved and that he is well pleased with him. How would you like to be told that? Jesus is told out loud by God at the beginning of his ministry, the very beginning, that he is the one, that he is the Messiah, that he is pleasing to God, that he is worthy to be listened to. That is how Jesus' ministry is launched. There's an old couple, 50 years married, and the wife says to her husband, you never tell me you love me. And he said, I told you when we got married. It's funny because we need to hear it. We need to be told, even if we intellectually know it. We need to be told. We need to be told it from one who really knows us. We need to be told it for somebody who actually cares for us. And we need to hear it again and again. Children need to hear it too, because they will find a reason to doubt your love. If they can't find a reason, they may invent one. It's natural. So not only our actions as parents, but our words must counteract that. I still remember sitting in the driveway in our car when my oldest was 3 or 4, and I was mad at her for something she did in the car, threw something, who knows what. And she paused and said, "Don't you love me?" I was like, "That's not fair." I knew you'd do that. I was told you'd do that. But it reminded me that I needed to disconnect expressions of love for her from behavior. I needed to disconnect words of love from her good or bad behavior. I needed to make it abundantly clear at age 4 or age 14 to counteract that inner voice that my love was unchanged and steady. And I needed to say it out loud, to show it out loud, to counteract the voice that I could never hear. Now, we're not saying with our voice to our loved ones that you are perfect, because you're not. You are not perfect. You do make mistakes. We are sinners. But you are loved. You are valued. Do you see the difference? You are not the world's best boss, the world's best mom or dad. We do not treat each other as well, and God cares about those things. Our actions, let alone our voices of distrust, lack of faith, are not all good. God cares about us and how we treat and think about others. But the voice of others is important. It's needed. But it's not enough. There can never be enough of whatever 5 love languages you need to feel worthy. You cannot give enough gifts, receive enough positive compliments, spend enough quality time to fill that hole in our hearts that says that we're not enough. Nobody can give you enough. Not a new girlfriend, a new husband, or the perfect parent. There's never enough to overcome the lies that come from within. The voice and from the enemy, the father of lies, that says you are worthless, that says you have wasted your life. We need a voice, but not just from others, but from outside of ourselves, outside of our planet. A voice from the heavens. We need the preemptive love that Jesus received from his Father at his baptism. Before he began anything, before he did any miracles, before he did his amazing teachings, he was declared worthy and loved by God. God said he was pleased with Jesus. And just don't forget, God does love you. And that the inner accusations are not true, in the sense that the worthiness of our actions is no longer the issue on the table. After the resurrection, we are declared worthy. We are worthy not because we're so awesome, but because of Jesus' death for us. And that's that truth, that capital T truth, that gives us comfort, that gives us assurance. So it's time to have an answer to the inner voice, to shut it down, to hear instead a different voice from our Father in heaven. The same voice spoken at your baptism, that you are an adopted daughter or son of God. You are in the family, and God is well pleased with you. Amen.